How are you today?
I am excellent.
This
It's
is
a
good.
lovely Sunday morning, and we are doing our Patreon live stream.
Sure are. So if you happen to be a Patreon and you're not in the thing that we usually are in, the link's in Discord and it's on the Patreon side too.
Yep,
And if you
and
don't want to join this part and just hang out, you can watch the YouTube video too.
absolutely. And we'll be monitoring chat as usual and whatnot. But we do have one person here. Everyone say
Boom.
hello to Dominic.
All right,
Hey,
Dominic.
how you doing?
I'm doing great. Doing good. Just kind of hanging out.
It's Stig's
Yeah,
in the chat.
there's nothing quite like hanging out on a Sunday morning.
Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely.
It's a good time.
Hey, Stig. Hope your weekend's going well. And yeah, so hopefully people will start showing up here. And we have a few topics and whatnot that we want to discuss. We were chatting a little bit before about a few of them, but we will share all that with you guys.
Before we do though, boom. It's way easier to do this thing while you're in this thing because then you don't have to screw up the things.
So yeah, we want to thank all of our Patreons, Helge at Tree Supports, and everyone else on the list here. We want to thank everyone for helping us out and makes our making of the streams and whatnot a little easier, and the projects. So thank you so much for all your support. And if you do become a Patreon supporter, you do get access to our Discord where you can join us for nice chats, and we share all the Patreons share videos and clips and articles, and it's a really great place to discuss stuff. So thanks everyone for joining us, and that's just a perk. And then you also could join us here on our live stream.
Truth. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. So it's I joined a little bit later than these two guys did, but when I joined up on the conversation this morning, they were talking about something that I had found out a completely different way than they had found out about. And it's kind of cool. There's two things about it, and I'm gonna throw it up on the screen share here so we can see what we're talking about. Ooh, well, oh no, I lost it because I was being fancy with my
Oh,
mouse.
you'll find it.
Man, guys, I don't know. I just don't know. Okay, so
It's
here
Sunday morning.
I did it. I did it. There it is. So this is the way I found out about it. A compact 3D printer that fits into a filament box. So, I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's this one. It's kind of like a do-it-yourself thing. But this is how they found out about it. The strangest upside down 3D printer. So yes, it does print upside down. And on top of the build plate. So it's interesting. I mean, obviously it makes sense, right? Like you're not affected by gravity so much when you're printing.
Well, yeah, as long as it sticks.
Well, and yeah, right. That's the thing. So your first later, it becomes abundantly important, I guess you could say.
But when you think about it, like the resin printers print the same way, so it's like it's not like it's completely unusual.
It is really not. Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Patrick.
So yeah, like it's completely upside down. The it looks again like your brain has to work a little bit backwards to think about it because the gantry piece is actually right on the bottom and flying. I wonder if the other picture's better. Yeah, there.
Yeah,
So
that's
that
pretty cool.
that's pretty good. That's a good representation.
Now, I haven't read the article, and since you have, I'm going to ask you, what does he use to drive the print head there? Is it a wire, or what is that he's using?
So think of it as like a Core XY
Right,
upside down. And
but what?
so like that thing, I'm not sure what he actually used in that machine or like in that part. I don't know
Because
if he even
it looks like
says.
some sort of cable or
Another major it does. It looks like it almost looks like a chain. Like it would have a tooth gear that it goes through.
yeah, yeah. I want to find a little more out about it. I don't know, Dominic. Do you know what he used for
I
the?
don't I don't remember. You know, I know I was curious about it. I think in one of his first videos he mentions it, but I
Yeah,
don't remember what it was.
yeah. Well, we'll have to pull up the build guide and go through it and have a look. And I'm sure he has
Hmm.
part sourcing information
Oh yeah,
and everything. So
I have a
um,
bomb. Yeah, see,
yeah,
and there's this one. That's what the one that caught my eye. I think it came up in my Google News thing
yeah,
because it all fit inside. Like when it's you can collapse it and put it in a box to I'll bring it around.
yeah. It's pretty cool.
Sort of. But I mean, and then this morning you guys were talking about how people were wondering how it failed, right? So if there's a print failure, how did it work, or how did it look?
Yep.
I, it's funny because I think that answer's obvious. It just spaghetti messes upside down,
Yeah. But
unless it
yeah,
detaches from the print, and then you just get a blob starting on your hot end.
yeah. I think I'd be a little more concerned about some of the filament and the spaghetti getting caught in those gears and wheels
Right?
and whatnot, right? Because
Yep.
you know it's one thing when it falls down and you've got just nothing really underneath to really worry about too much.
Hmm.
But I guess I mean we get filament in our V slots and stuff every now and
Hmm.
then and whatnot. But
Like
yeah,
I don't think it would end the printer, but it would definitely stop it up real
yeah.
good.
I wonder if you have to recalibrate it or anything. And leveling is something I want to see the video and how it levels and stuff because that intrigues me.
He definitely doesn't have a BL touch on there, if you know what I mean. He should. Um,
Well, I don't know. It seems to work.
You could use a TH3D
yeah, the
easy thing, whatever.
easy ABL.
But
Yeah, easy.
it's a small
Yeah.
enough bed though. I think once you get it really true, it's
Yeah.
probably going to stay. Like it's like even an ender. If you get the heavier springs and once you get it level, it stays level for quite a long time.
Well, and two, you're not likely to have a warped piece of glass.
No, you're
Yeah,
less likely
that's
for
true.
the
Yeah,
warped glass than
that's
the.
very true.
And
Yeah.
looking at the one construction, like he has two prototypes. One has that. One's a little different than the other, but it doesn't look like he has a heated and a non-heated version.
Mm.
So like he's just heating the glass. So it looks
Yeah,
like
and
he's attached the heater right to the top
yeah,
of
it,
it, right?
it looks almost like that heat tape you can get.
Yeah, the Kapton or whatever.
Yeah.
Look,
Well,
it
yeah.
looks like your rear window,
Yeah,
Yeah.
the compressor in your rear
Yeah.
window.
Yeah.
yeah. And then it just heats that glass. Then the other one is like you can tell like this one doesn't have the heating matrix thing on it. Um, so it's like, I mean, it's cool. It. I wonder what the weight to lift ratio has to be like. That's pretty small right now. So could you get away with it, you think, with like a 300 millimeter bed or a 400
Uh,
millimeter?
I don't know. Like, because
I mean, you'd
the
have to
mask
change
would go
the,
up quite a bit. So,
yeah, like you'd have to use different, you couldn't just use one drive at the back to lift it like he's doing here. You have to like do a post. Or not a post, but like two Z rods. That's the word. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I think my biggest concern is when you need to replace the bed. You know, if you
Hmm.
break the bed, do you have to buy? Like, is it going to be a proprietary bed, or can you just get the heating element to put on your own piece of glass?
Right?
I don't know.
Yeah, or is it like, yeah, because right now it does look like it's just taped on with capped on tape,
Uh,
like on there. And it looks like that thing just clamps and holds the bed.
yeah,
So I would hope that it's that way. And you know what? It probably is that way since this is like a do it yourself kind of kit
Yeah.
right now.
yeah, yeah. I
Because,
have a
like,
feeling it is.
to do that, like, you'd have to go to, I mean, an auto shop could do it for you, embed it.
Yeah,
Um,
but
but,
Yeah, it's pretty cool though.
but you know darn well that at some point you're going to break the bed.
right? At some
That's
point,
just going
something's
to
going to
happen.
happen to it. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Well,
There's
I mean, if you're really careful, it's probably fine. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, yeah.
Well,
Um,
if you have a cat, that thing is going to get broken.
right?
Yeah.
So while we were talking of such things, Stig mentioned a printer in chat called the Bamboo Lab X1 Carbon. And I looked it up because that's what I do when people type things in. So I looked it up. It's a Kickstarter, but you can see it has almost looks
Multi-
like an MMU. It's a
Yeah.
multi-material thing on the top, and they've got a lot of. And the interesting thing about this, do you guys notice anything about this picture? It's
Mm,
not a render.
yeah,
This is
they look like real prints.
this looks like a real, like, it's right down to the, like, reflection in the printer is pretty good, and
Yeah.
it doesn't look like a render.
Yeah.
The background looks interesting,
The
and you can see the
background.
person taking the picture in the window. Um, so
Interesting.
I guess it's not, the Kickstarter's not live for a day or two, but let's see what it's doing. Cause so it's 4 colors, LiDAR resolution. Ooh.
Interesting.
And
So
if I'm not mistaken, the color changing system is a lot like that carrot feeder thing.
mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't try to splice filament together or anything.
Yeah,
No, yeah, it just pulls out and puts the next one in. Now that's cool. I mean,
yeah.
I kind of want to fire up the palette just to do that. Now, it would be interesting to see if they have any what's the word I'm looking for? If they've advanced the waste tower problem at all, because, like,
It
it's been
it
years of
it
talking.
doesn't require a waste tower, although you have an option to use one.
You could probably
But it's
do
got
a
a
small purge block
it's
or
got a
something.
it's got a vat at the back and it
Oh, it
scrapes
just
the
wipes.
nozzle. Yeah,
Okay.
it wipes at the back.
So that's
Hmm.
that's definitely better. I mean, the splicing ones have the waste towers, but there's lots of dual ones out there from the Flash Forge
Okay,
all the
I
way
gotta
up.
ask. I gotta ask, how
hmm
much is
Well,
the?
I'm glad you asked. We're getting there. We're getting there. But would it help you to know before I tell you how much it is that you don't have to assemble anything?
That's helpful.
Oh, by the way, we don't endorse buying Kickstarters if you can't afford to lose the money,
Yeah,
because you're never guaranteed.
it's more of a donation
Yeah, and hope.
and a
No,
hope.
now granted, we were talking about board games before this, and both those were Kickstarters. So, I mean, although I think $100 board game's a little bit different. Okay, let's see here. It might be at the top. I did see the Kickstarter prices though. It's probably at the top. One sec.
Yeah, it's
Well, let's make everybody sick. There it is. What? No way. Okay, good save. I'm like, it's not that much. Yeah, so that makes more sense. So the
$700 US.
KS Early Bird is 7, and then the KS Special is $7.99. And then
Carbon. Good.
so yeah, the carbon one, the one that Stig was kind of looking at, would be the either the $1,000 or the 850.
So what's the difference between the carbon and the X1?
I'm pretty sure you'd have to well, you'd have to probably wait till the Kickstarter goes live to find that out, friend. Can you click the buy button? Learn more. Is it on Kickstarter yet? No. That's funny. Just takes you back and forth and back and forth. Let's see here. Includes a Bamboo Lab X1, a carbon. I imagine, I don't want to say it out loud in case I'm wrong, but it could be the nozzle.
Yeah,
Stiff
maybe.
PACF parts. Yeah, because the carbon could be carbon fiber.
Now, are you limited to their? Because they look like they use 250 gram spools. Are you limited to the smaller spools?
That's something I don't know.
Hmm.
I'm just learning. I'm learning.
Hmm.
I don't know if those look like small spools or not.
Well, it said something about, like, if you look at the top, unless that's just starter spools, they were talking about 250 grams.
Oh, that would make sense.
So, yeah.
Removing supports has never, ever been easier. You wouldn't even need your hot knife, Dominic. Super easy.
Oh, by the way, I've also heard that it doesn't have a heated chamber.
No, yeah, that would make sense too. A lot of the heating depends on the bed, and a lot of these printers.
Chamber can go up to 60 degrees. Says
Yeah,
right
but
there.
But
that's from
passive.
the bed. The bed produces the heat.
All metal hot end.
And go down, yeah, there. Chamber, oh, up one. On the chamber one. Advanced materials. Free.
It just says warm. It looks cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, they leave some stuff out on their landing page. But yeah, like all of this stuff is like vinyl and carbon fiber, and so it's
Well,
definitely a printer built to not print PLA.
The LiDAR thing is interesting. Does that mean they have their own specialized software for slicing, or can you? I wonder if you can use a conventional slicer, or if they want something, they maybe they have their own proprietary product.
Yeah,
They,
like
yeah, they have their own.
Oh, I saw RFID.
yeah, so did I. I'm like, go back.
They have their own ABL and everything. That LiDAR thing handles all kinds of things.
The X1 uses RFID to detect what filament you're using, which means
You have to use
you're going to
their
be using their
filament.
filament. So they're creating like an entire ecosystem here, which isn't a bad thing. But you have to be aware of what you're buying into too.
But can we just buy our own RFID stickers and program them ourselves?
Well, yeah.
I think you can use your own filament, but you
Yeah.
lose some functionality.
Yeah, like you wouldn't have that auto detect. You'd have
Right.
to probably type on the screen, similar to the mid-tier Dremel printers when they were a thing. You could use your own filament, but it couldn't tell what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of. So it kind of uses. It kind of looks like it uses spaghetti detective-ish.
Well, and that could be the LiDAR, right? Because
Yeah.
then it can detect how smooth it is.
Yeah,
And so you know how good the first layer is going to be.
I like how
Interesting.
like the confidence level of the totally wrecked corner is 70%. I'm like, no, it's broken. Spaghetti detection. No, that's definitely like. I don't know if you guys have looked at Spaghetti Detective recently,
Yeah, it does the little AI boxes around
Yeah.
their stuff. Yeah.
but yeah, that's definitely how that looks. Chapter 3, designed for speed.
Corrects Y. All right.
500 millimeters per second. Velocity. That's pretty slow. Oh, and then they give you print times. Took 16 minutes to print a Benchy. That looks that
Yeah.
good.
Interesting. I think the one with the little smoke coming out of the stack might have taken longer.
Well, yeah, you'd have to print a smoke. The Dragon took 3 hours. Whoa.
That's pretty impressive.
If it's true. 70 hours to print the Kaiju. You know
Yeah,
what
I could-
Kaijus are from, Greg? You know what Kaijus are from?
Yeah, that's from Pacific Rim, I do
Name
believe.
it. You nailed it. Yes, it is. And then they've got like this custom hot end with a nice long filament path.
Yeah,
But it is constrained.
it is constrained. It
So
is.
that is good. Yeah, I should
Look,
dig this.
it
This
loo-
looks
it
like
looks
a heck
all
of a
metal.
printer.
It
Yeah.
looks all metal too.
Yeah. Well, on the
40
other
watt
page,
ceramic.
they said
So that's very
beefy.
yeah.
Beefcake. Yeah, so that's definitely a yeah, it is a little too much for a retired person. I would agree. It's too much for me. I won't run out and buy it. Put it that way. Morning, Raymond. Wow, I'm just sorry. I was a little behind on the comments. Okay, I did it. Redefining smooth. So
That's
it looks
pretty
like they
good.
have some sort of like
Oh, that's-
linear
That's
advance.
the
or,
lidar thing.
Yeah.
So the lidar probably adjusts
Your
the
flow
linear
and-
advance
Mhm.
and flow. Interesting.
It's cool. I mean, it's got a lot of stuff. And this isn't the first Kickstarter that we've seen that's had a lot of stuff. And I mean that in a Kickstarter way. I'm not saying this would be a bad thing, but most Kickstarter campaigns overpromise.
That's true.
So, like, what you might get is a printer that almost does all of this, but it's missing, say, like the LiDAR detection or something. But I would imagine that they've done a little bit of work on that already. But
Well, it looks the prototype looks very polished. I gotta
Yes.
say, at least like what in their images here.
and this page is back. Like this page has been mostly rendered images, is mostly.
Yeah.
So, like that first page we were on, it didn't look rendered. It looked like that was the real stuff. Wait, what? Huh?
Oh, here we are.
Here we go.
Aluminum and glass, polycarbonate and glass. Okay.
So the X1 carbon has aluminum and glass.
Okay. Hardened
That-
steel.
well, that's confusing. Carbon,
steel,
polycarbonate.
closed loop control optional. Oh, interesting. Closed loop. Interesting. Active carbon filter.
Yeah, so the carbon definitely comes with like a few of the, few more bells. Supported filament, ideal.
So you also get the camera on the carbon to watch.
And then 1920 by 10. What does that mean? Oh, is that the camera resolution?
Yes.
1920. I'm like,
It's a
what does that
1080p
mean?
camera.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm not sure what it means by ideal filament. I don't see a brand that's named Ideal.
Maybe that's their brand.
That could be. And the non X1 is 1 kilo heavier. So go to the gym, get the smallest weight, then you can lift that one. Show, I mean, that one's a cool little Kickstarter stake. Is definitely not in the price range of like your budget, like under threes, but it would compete with quite nicely. It would compete with the Prusa in that price range.
And maybe some of the really low end Ultimaker.
Yeah, well, even those ones are like 2-3 grand. But
Yeah.
so that's the bamboo.
That's pretty cool.
The bamboo. It's one of those ones where it's like it looks neat, I'll let it be out for a while before I have an opinion on it.
Yeah. Well, and it's like the other things that are coming out. Like we were talking just last week about the new SKR 3s that are coming out, and this week they just released all the firmware design models. So if you want the step files for both the Easy 3 and the 3, they're available on the Big Tree Tech GitHub. And then they also have all of their prototype or beta, I guess, because it's not official yet. Firmware. That's the word I was going for. Both for Marlin, Clipper, and they have guides for all of them, and also RepRap. So they've got all of those available. So if you are interested in checking that out before it's officially shipping, but buyer beware, as like we said last week or the week before, I guess. We've been burnt with SKR2 when you got the early birds on those.
Thankfully, not literally burnt, but yeah.
Yeah. So
It hurt our
you
feelings.
might want to wait a week or two until other people have gotten them in their hands before you rush out and buy one. So, but hopefully they learned their lesson from the last time.
I lucked out, and my bad experience was with the Sunlu dryer, and that was only $70 here or so.
Yeah.
And the only problem with that is by the time the thing ended, the campaign ended. The day after the campaign ended, you could buy it on Amazon for cheaper than what I pledged it for. And
Yeah.
and you got it in 2 days. I had to wait a month before I got mine.
Yeah.
So
So
that kind of that soured me on Kickstarter altogether.
yeah,
Like I said, didn't cost me a lot. So.
yeah, it's one of those things. Like Kickstarter is not a store. It is an aspirational place. People have been using it as a marketing tool where it's more of a venture capital startup. My company is what it was supposed to be for, to help people get off the ground on a unique idea, but it's kind of been overtaken by companies using it as a marketing tool. So yeah, which is unfortunate.
You could say words like peachy printer. And like
Yes.
that's that went sideways. The guy took the money and bought a house.
Yeah.
He did.
So like, and then the overarching problem too. It's not so much that, like Creality as an example, like when they started, like they did the CR6 and the print mill, I think. So far, I've been the only two up there, but it's like they already had that thing made, right?
Yep.
Like it was in production, it was done, but they were using it to hype out and get their product out the door.
They wanted numbers so they knew, okay, well, let's manufacture 10% more than this. Right? So that they only produced enough. And then they still had problems.
Yeah. Yeah. I see Kickstarter as something where someone's designed something that no one else is interested in making, and it looks like a good idea, and you're willing to fund it just in hopes that the guy will develop it, knowing that he may not.
This is one Kickstarter I got. This is it took a while to get. The guy was from Ontario, and it's a spot welder for lithium-ion batteries, and it's even powered by lithium-ion battery. And inside here are some super capacitors. In here are so it works pretty good. They have a new version mod. It's all open source, but they 3D printed cases. It's got a little voltmeter on here. You can charge it separately with the power supply, but this took a lot longer because mid doing this, the pandemic hit, and he practically had to close down his business because of restrictions and whatnot. But I did get it. It took a little while, but yeah, it was kind of neat. And so you know, hopefully people follow through on their Kickstarters and at least fulfill all their Kickstarter pledges. But
Moving a bit adjacent to Kickstarter, I was hanging out on the hanging out's the wrong word. The timeline for the I think Ender 3 group flipped by on my Facebook feed, and usually I ignore them, and Greg knows why. But this one caught my eye. A fellow was like, I have an Ender 3 whatever V2 Pro, and I want to patent a design that I made that I'm printing. And the comments that ensued made me laugh and brought joy to my heart. Patents have changed a lot, and patent isn't the right thing to do. So what he had a part that he wanted to make sure that, you know, he retained the intellectual property for.
yeah,
And so like patents are for processes, not parts.
It's more of a trademark then.
It is. So,
Yeah.
and like there was people in there that's like, well, you know, one fellow's like, yeah, well, I've done that. It cost about $20,000. So if your part's worth about $20,000, then, you know, it might be worth. And then the next the next thing that popped up said, if I remember it correctly, it said, well, what you're really looking for is a trademark, like Greg said, which, yeah. But again, trademarking is it's a long process, and that's usually done for larger corporate.
It's normally like your logo almost like
Like
right?
you don't.
So like Apple would
Yeah, or like
prosecute against their trademark,
like
of
Honda,
their logo,
right? Honda just did it,
Yeah.
and with the
Yep.
trademark thing. So like that would be a trademark, and then you're left with something that's been in the music industry for a very long time, and in art as a medium in general, and that's some sort of copyright, whether it's actually like the trick in the early days of music was you'd record your thing, get it on a tape from your old 8-track player spinning in the basement, and then mail it to yourself and keep it sealed. And that was good enough because then you'd have the certified letter that came back, and it would prove your timeline that's
and
yours.
It has a date on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but now we have, we're lucky and unlucky, and we've seen it in recent things with some stuff that's going on in courts too, with like photos, a lot, and STLs. Any digital file gets stamped, right? It has metadata in it, and you can tell when that metadata gets changed. So long story short, with this guy, somebody down the line said, maybe you should look at the Creative Commons thing, because that's it exists. It's
Yeah.
free-ish. And you can control you can control the chain of custody basically for your intellectual property. Meaning if Greg posts something, even if he posts it on Thingiverse or My Mini Factory,
I'll NFT it.
right, he'll make an NFT. But if he sees it 3 weeks later, but it's the same thing, and somebody's like just literally downloaded his model and put it up on Thingiverse as their own, which has happened, then he could, and this is the real trick. Then he could invest his own time again and probably money if he really had to go after and like take care of that copyright issue and get it taken down, and if the person you're dealing with it is reasonable, they'll probably take it down right away, right?
Yeah.
But this is the problem with copyright, patent, trademark, like patents and trademarks in particular. There's a reason why they're usually multi-million or billion-dollar companies that deal with them, because you have to have the legal resources to, you know, to go out and pursue such a thing. So it's an interesting topic. I mean, I think we all like I think all of us have designed a part or a thing, and we think that that part or thing is just the, you know, the cat's knees or whatever. But is it worth? If you don't want people
you
to
gotta
steal
pick your
it, don't post
battles.
it, right? Yeah,
You got to
that's
pick your battles.
yeah,
If you're posting it online, you want everyone to have it,
yeah. And
right?
if you're going to sell it, you might want to consider the I will print it and sell you the print of it, because then at least it makes it a little harder to directly rip off.
Yeah.
But then that's a whole other thing, right? Because then you're like shipping stuff, and it's not the wave of the future that we should be having.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I don't even know when it dropped, but we've been talking about.
I was on the 12th or
Was it on the 12th?
I don't know, something
Anyway,
like
Kira's out.
that. Akira 5 is released 12 days ago.
Yeah, 12 days ago. So that would have been 12 minus 29, 17.
Yeah.
So it came out. We gave you our initial thoughts on it. As how many people are using it? Just curious. Dominic, you're using Kira 5? You said you had it on your.
I haven't.
installed it.
I haven't actually used it yet.
Okay.
Me as well. I installed it. Haven't sliced anything yet. I've got some brackets I'm gonna print for my daughter's Saturn V today, so I will maybe experiment with it and see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it when it was in beta, and I've been using it since then too. And it's Kira has always had a lot of options underneath of it, but like they've got such a good balance of what you need to see in all the automated stuff. So if you have been steering away from Kira because it's a little bit slower on your computer, or it's, you know, graphic
Yes.
intense,
Yeah.
you'll feel it in 5, but some of that issue goes away. The slicing time is dramatically improved. It's
I
up
see
there.
they did a ton of bug fixes since the beta too.
Well, hopefully, hopefully your beta is not your release.
Yeah, no,
But-
there's
and
quite
most
a
of the
few.
most of the extensions are updated. So
Yeah, that was the big one I think they were waiting for, because
Because that was pretty frustrating when you couldn't use your Octoprinted extension or whatnot. So
yeah. Well, like for some, it's very important. Stig says I've installed it, but I have not used it.
I think that's
So-
all of us.
Well,
Yeah.
I've used it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm in a boat by myself. Oh, so I will say,
I still haven't gotten around to moving over to Prusa. I keep wanting to, yeah, but I know Kira, and there are translation problems that I have, and I'll get around to it though.
yeah, I think with so like with Kira, yo na, I think with Kira, it's so like if you go into Kira and you're gonna, for example, set a speed on your print job, if you set the speed at the top, it automatically calculates everything down, right? Yeah, what's your question? Just post in the chat there. So like Kira actually offers some ease of use stuff. Prusa Slicer is kind of, I'm not going to say it's complex, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if you change, and let's talk about speed still, if you have the speed, you have to change all of them. You know, you can set the percentage for sure. So you can fix it up that way. But Kira is definitely one of those ones where it can be as simple as you want, or it can be as complicated as you want. Like way back when we did our video on Prusa Slicer, it has like the beginner, advanced, and intermediate stuff about that, and it it locks you into those feature sets. But when you go advanced, you're still actually not as advanced as Kira would be. So
Well, I just noticed that Cura now that there's an extension I think you put in there, and you can through Cura change all your machine settings.
Yep.
You
I
know,
think they've had that before. You just had to go
and
into your machine separately, and then they had the plugin which then exposes them within your side menu. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think it
So-
might even add some additional G code so that you can then adjust any settings that your firmware allows you to via G code.
Yeah. So when you look at like the biggest difference between the two is, and you can actually see it now, is when you slice in Prusa or versus Kira. If you look at the toolpath, you can hit play in Kira, or you can use the slider and Prusa, and it shows you where the nozzle's going to go. The toolpath is distinctly different. So that's what
Yeah.
the Arcane engine or
Yeah,
whatever
that
it
was their efficiency improvement, and some of the moves that just didn't need to happen now don't, and then other moves that should have been happening all along that they were skipping, now they've added in. So it's really they've optimized it a lot.
The most important thing, though, Greg, is there's a new icon.
Someone has a question about what the stream is about. 3D printing
Don't worry about it. It's been, don't worry
dealt
about
with. Thank you.
I think the variable layer width thing in Cura is going to be interesting to see how that works out. Yeah.
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I mean they've had the variable height, but like it looks like it's a little more advanced.
Yeah.
The other day we had a shake our heads moment with variable layer height. It was kind of funny actually, because we were like, well, we had like 4 or 5 models on the build plate. And we wanted to change one. I'm like, but we can't.
Yeah.
They all got to be the same.
Yeah, you can change the layer height, but it's consistently with all the models,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Unless you're printing one model at a time.
Then you could
But-
get away with it. Yeah.
But yeah,
I think it's interesting. One of the features that they promote or tout in Kira 5 here is the shrinkage buffer. So, like, apparently they've added in filament shrink for PLA, PLA, TPLA,
that's
and PETG.
interesting.
So, I mean, it doesn't shrink a lot. Like ABS warps and pulls as it cools.
Yeah,
So, like, typically that's a bad one. PETG does a little bit, but I mean, PLA, I don't think it. I think it was in like
it's
the infantile.
it's not too bad.
percentage.
Like
Yeah.
especially like once you get it all calibrated and dialed in, it's not too bad. So
But yeah, I mean, it's out. Dare I say it's like, so Kira 5 is a numbered release, so it deserves attention and a video. So we'll compare it to the newest version of Prusa Slicer, whatever that happens to be now.
2.4.3.
I think you're right. I'm just gonna look on the 2.4.2.
Okay.
You were close.
Very
There's
close.
probably a beta out for 0.3 in all fairness, but so yeah, we'll probably run down the differences between the two. As you know, Greg and I are big fans of Prusa Slicer.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm a fan of any slicer that does the job well. So, like, Prusa still doesn't have tree supports.
Yeah,
Is,
The
is it
ironic,
ever going to get that?
it has it. The ironic part is it already has that engine. They just don't use it for the FDM printers.
No, they use it for their
Resin.
resin printers. Yeah.
So like they could bring the logic over, but it would be very experimental is the problem.
Well, and who knows? Maybe they are experimenting on that. I don't know, but they've done a lot. Their supports work really well. I've had very good luck in having the sports, even when they're really quite complex supports, remove very very well. So, but I've had really good luck with tree supports too. So.
I'm gonna throw a question out for Stig specifically, but everybody can answer. It's been 2 years since it actually showed up in my timeline. 2 years since our last Marlin video, and it was still Marlin 2. I think it was probably Marlin 2.0.3 or something like that.
Yeah, it was early on.
It's early Marlin, but would it be helpful if how many people would like to see a, let's say, modern Marlin video? So 2.0.9.3 right now. Dominic,
Dominic
okay. I mean, okay. I think it would be of
and the
benefit,
comparison.
yeah.
I think the comparison would be a good one too. So I think those are, and you do an excellent job on how you present those. So I'm not even going to touch it.
How many people want to see Greg do one? I do. You've been outvoted.
Hi, I'm going to show you how to use Marlin. David?
Oh goodness.
Your Marlin videos, David, is how I got interest in your channel.
Oh,
I mean, that's from back then, because I just got into 3D printing about a little over 2 years ago,
okay.
and that's how I got involved in it. And in with your channel,
Cool.
you're really great at it. And
thank you.
for me, I think, and there's no way that you're going to know what this is, but I just want to know what can I do in Marlin that I didn't know I could do.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've done a few videos on some of the other features you can turn on and off and this and that over the years, and there is lots of new features that are in there, and they've added different screen types and this and that. Most of it is like just turn this on and off, but yeah, it's good to know that there is a feature for this, or this is why David has a very good list that he goes by. This is when I'm setting up my Marlin, I want to do this, right? So,
Took a bit
and
to
I do
hold
too.
that list. Yeah.
I do too, and I have I like bring up the two config files and go through them kind of side by side just to make sure that, because I want the current notes in my config file, right? Because you could use the old config file, but then if there's new notes on how this feature interacts, you don't see it. So then I just go kind of line by line and go through and kind of transfer them over, and then now I have a third serial port which I didn't know about. So it's kind of a methodical thing going through just to make sure that you understand what's going on. But
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
'cause
did that.
I use the TH3D Easy Board, and they've got that
Wizard,
thing online, that wizard.
Yeah.
And the only reason I use that, and I'd rather I didn't, but I do it because it's just easy.
It is.
Just print the boxes and boom, it's done. I would like to know what can I do that TH3D doesn't do, because he gives you his config files. I can edit them any way I want.
Yeah.
I just need to have a reason to do it, because
Well, and one of the things that I noticed was, like if you change to a magnetic sheet, like the full sheet versus the glass with the clips, changing, and David, I know, and I both do this, is we modify the print bed size so that we can actually utilize more of the bed. You can get a more accurate point of where your center of your bed is by properly knowing your offsets. Like, oh, well, my Y when it homes is a little bit further back, so I need to make my Y negative a little more so that when it after it homes and goes to 0, it's actually at 0. That sort of thing. So there's little tweaks that you can do within there, whereas if you're just getting the defaults from someone, their preferences are probably different than yours. So you can customize, and maybe that's a little thing and maybe it's not a big deal, but if you really are trying to maximize your print volume or something, sometimes there's little tweaks you can adjust from even the factory defaults, just to get a little bit more out of your printer. And it might not be a big change. It may literally be like, oh, I need to move it 3 mil or 5 mil or whatever, to do an offset. But it's those little things that are kind of nuanced, but they can be very helpful.
And it's such a big topic. And
It is.
You're never gonna. That's why after the first one, there was like 7 follow-up videos per feature, right? So like we will be doing. We'll do a new Marlin video and we'll do a new Kira Prusa video. How many? So this is a question directed directly to our Patreons. And I know all of you, I think, are in the Discord Patreon group, so you can answer there. Would anybody find value or interest in a 2 to 3 hour morning, maybe like we do it instead of a Sunday live stream, but Marlin workshop kind of idea? So it would go through a little more in depth than like the videos that we currently have out, but it would be a workshop and we would all be able to hang out, bounce questions, and do it all at once. So if that kind of thing would intrigue you, and I'm not saying there wouldn't be like a nominal thing for it, but if it would be interesting, it would be something we would really love. We would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So if a workshop idea is interesting for you too, rather than just digesting like the videos that we're going to put out, maybe in Patreon, if you guys can fire us a message or in Discord. I got Patrick's firing one right here, so that's good too.
Yeah. And it's one of those things too, that maybe from the workshop idea, there could be some additional information to put in the actual next Marlin video that comes out of that, because there might be some common questions that a really burning desire to know that we really should get out to everyone else as well. So
yeah, we can't offer lunch at the workshop because nobody's in our town, but we do them quite regularly. Workshops, I don't know, I think we've done about 6 or 7 this year.
Yeah.
Just for like our industry. So
Yeah.
it's something that we would easily share with you guys too. So
Yeah.
We'll pose the question again maybe in a week or so, get a tally. But if you're interested in such a thing, the Patreon Discord, if you're not there, then just hit us up, info at 3dmakeit.
Yeah.
.ca. Wow,
Yeah.
got to finish the whole URL. We're not just info at 3dmakeit. And so maybe like that might be an idea too. This idea
This is
very super in its
very
infancy.
So
Yeah.
so maybe we'll try it out with the patrons. They'll be our early access. and then we can tweak it, and then maybe we can expand it a little further than that or something.
You got it, Stig. Bring your own coffee. Uh-huh. So the other thing, now this isn't so much just because it's the Patreon stream, but it's something that we mention every year around this time.
Yep.
And we'll mention it one more time. But Greg and I work in a thing where we take holidays and we're only really supposed to take them during the summer period. So there's going to be some lapses where we're not around. This summer, we will try to broadcast them beforehand, just to let you know when the streams won't be happening. But
For me, I won't be around probably mid-July, like kind of the end of July, beginning of August. That's when my official holidays are.
And
So, but
ironically, mine are
let
just
you guys-
before him and just after him.
Yeah, so we'll let you know. There might be. It's not to say we're not going to put out any content, but
It's
it might
just summer.
be slightly different
Yeah.
than this format, right? So
Yep. And you guys
Yeah.
have been along through our summer content before. I think last summer,
I streamed from the lake.
yeah, I put out a video from my trailer, right? So
Yeah,
it's not that we stop; it's just it changes a bit. But
yeah,
we are going to take away and maybe figure out. So if you're in our Patreon Discord, if you wouldn't mind, we'll start chatting to see if the workshop idea is a viable thing.
yeah.
Patrick, I know that you have interest in it. And again, if you're watching this video after and have interest in it, you can send a message to info@3dmakeit.ca. And then you can just say, hey, I'm interested in this thing. Keep me in the loop. What's going on? And we can loop you in on the discussion.
And
Again,
I think if we do an official workshop, we would put it on our website too.
yeah. So, and all the important things, we should probably change the Christmas contest. It's been a while.
We could retire
3dmakeit.ca. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, we could post the winning model and say this was.
We could. It's just like just 6 months later. We're almost.
We're a little slow.
We're a little slow. So 3dmakeit.ca, that's where you can find all of our stuff. I'm looking forward to in the summer starting podcasting again.
Yeah. We should do the other thing too.
I'm gonna hold on. But you can. It's sitting right there. Thank you to all these wonderful people. We missed Helch today. He's up there in the tree support, but Dominic's with us right now. Stig's in the chat. I've seen Ray in this chat. So
Ray's in the chat. Yeah.
It's great hanging out with you guys. And thank you for being patrons.
Yeah. Oh, David turned
Clicked the wrong button. A lot of the behind the scenes thing wouldn't happen without you guys, like websites and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we appreciate
it.
You guys come along for the ride. And if the workshop idea goes well, it probably will roll into the Patreon benefit side of things. Yeah. So that's why you guys would be the early adopters, and we could figure it out.
Yep.
But
so it's pretty much the bottom of the hour here. Dominic's actually been on even longer than that with us, hanging out. But thanks again for everyone for showing up and having a great chat here. Ray, good luck with your clipper. I think you'll find it's not too bad once you get into it. I really like the mainsail stuff. It seems to work really well. So, but that's just my preference. So
I started down that and then I completely left turned.
Squirrel.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, so I just threw the contact stuff up on the screen because I forgot we could do that. Derp.
And you put it in chat, which is excellent.
Right. So those are the ways you can get us. We will. I think we're around next week. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep. So we'll see you guys in a week. Thanks, Dominic, for hanging out
thanks
live and on the
Dominic.
air, and everybody else in chat. Thanks for coming around. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Great show. Thanks.